Joining me now is Zack Valdez. He is with the U.S. Department of Energy, where he's Chief of Staff, Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains. I got through that title. How about
Thank
that?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good to see you.
right on. Likewise.
I know this is it's a big, broad question for you to start off, but what would you say is the general state and the progress of the U.S. battery metals supply chain right now?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And so what I would say is it's a work in progress, right? So are we giving it everything we have across the U.S. government? Yes. Do we understand that there are challenges ahead? Yes. But I think what we're doing is beginning to align both within the Department of Energy, but also in the Department of Interior and really across the U.S. government to really understand where those gaps and opportunities lie. For instance, our office, the Manufacturing Energy Supply Chain Office, has $6 billion to look at the recycling, manufacturing, and processing of batteries and battery components and materials. And so we've recently released $2.8 billion of those dollars for selections to kind of support that area. We understand that it's not only Department of Energy, but we also have what we call the American Batteries Materials Initiative that's looking at building sort of a working group across the agency and across the government that provides sort of a common voice for what are the opportunities and gaps in sort of the batteries and metal supply chains. And then we move even a step further. There's recently the Mineral Security Partnership through the Department of State that's looking at how are we looking at it from an international standpoint, various resources and technologies that we need to partner better with allied countries like Australia, Japan, France, etc.
So a lot going on, obviously, as you detailed there. Now, under the Biden administration, about $100 billion in investments have been announced into the battery supply chain. And I know that it's early days, but can you give us a sense of how that money may be dispersed and ultimately what the goal is in terms of producing electric vehicles in the U.S. and also and creating jobs as well?
Yeah, and I think jobs is really big right now, right? This is something that President Biden has really been pushing in terms of not only just jobs, but quality jobs in the communities in which we're providing the funding. So as we look at what opportunities there are to support sort of that EV market, whether it be the processing of those minerals or the battery manufacturing plants themselves, we want to make sure that those jobs are located there. And I think that's really important because oftentimes we want to make sure that the people who are invested not only in creating the materials, also have a say in sort of what that investment looks like in their community. So we have something called a community benefits plan integrated within all of the billions of dollars that we're providing for developing this market. From a funding aspect, we have the $6 billion for battery materials, recycling, and processing grants. We have another $10 billion potentially in the in investment tax credits through 48C and 45X for the development of those materials. But we also have $7 billion in EV charging. So we're really trying to understand what the entire supply chain looks like and focus in on targeted aspects of that. And so as we think about releasing those funds, there's a few things that I think I want to be very clear about is the Department of Energy, for all the awards that we give away, because this is taxpayer money, has a very extensive review process where we vet the potential applicants before, and so even after they're selected, there's a contracting phase where we go through and make sure that their financial history and their ownership and everything that's involved in that is really well, I don't want to use the word scrutinized, but reviewed and assessed to make sure that they are leveraging taxpayer money effectively.
One thing that interested us here at Red Cloud, Zach, was the fact that Piedmont Lithium, a company we know quite well, within the past several months got a grant of more than $140 million for its Tennessee lithium project. So what's the Department of Energy's strategy in that area to help lithium miners build out the supply chain?
Well, I think with all proposals, we're looking at how do we build clean energy, make it affordable, make sure it's secure, make sure it's reliable. And so one of the unique things about Piedmont was not only are they locating their assets in Tennessee, but the cost share. So right now we do a 50% cost share. So for the $140 million project that you mentioned, they put in $430 million of their own funding to help support that. So that told us, similar to what we were just talking about, that vetting aspect, we know that if we're giving you X amount of dollars, and then you're putting even more than we're vetting, then there's a lot of people that are behind your project. And so that's what we want to see. And so as we give out that $2.8 billion that we've given in the first tranche of Bill Section 40207, we have a cost share of over $9 billion. So we're really looking at like, how do we flex that sort of initial investment or seed funding to really help industry get in there. And the other thing that I think was really interesting about Piedmont is they're co-locating their processing with their mining, which sort of reduces environmental impact, and it creates sort of a hub for that technology.
Right, for sure. And just lastly, you touched on gaps and opportunities. What's the overall vision as you look out, say 10 years, in terms of what the Department of Energy is trying to accomplish, especially through new technologies as well?
Oh, and I think it's the way that I started out, right? We want domestic clean energy, and we want it sustainable, and we want it to be built here by American manufacturing. So as we think about what can America innovate on and continually be a global competitor or global leader in various technologies, we think about how do we not only shore the resources that we need, but also the technologies for shoring those resources. So is it new processing techniques? Is it EV in mining operations? And so as we think about it, it's not only the resources that we have, but where can we leverage the technologies and the innovations that has made America a global leader in the past, but also while partnering with other countries, right? We understand that there are certain gaps that we don't have, and it might be in a resource or it may be in a technology, and where can we leverage on our allied partners for that support?
Fascinating stuff. It's very interesting times. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay, good stuff. Zack Valdez. He's with the U.S. Department of Energy.